Okay, this is my main objection to having the principal do it. The days of a principal being able to make decisions on what's in their library, I mean, I get that, and I've been told that all along, but those days are gone. A principal is, if there's an objection, the principal is going to be subject to scrutiny. They're going to need to document things. They're going to need to take certain steps as outlined in the procedure. One thing not even mentioned in this procedure is that they're supposed to read the book. You know?
Audio preview.
What I'm seeing are principals acting out of, I don't know whether it's fear, resignation, overwhelmed with time, you know, what the motivation is, but their inclination is to just pull it and be done with it. And that's not for the benefit, that's not necessarily good for the district, whether that's a good decision or not. The other thing is, by having, if you've got a book at 6 schools, okay, and having a principal at each school go through this is a duplication of effort. Because if a book is objectionable in one library, it should be objectionable all across the district. You know, and if a principal is leading a committee and making a decision or based in their school, but they know it's going to impact 3 other high schools, they're going to seek the input. They're going to talk to those principals. Every you know, I do not like, number one, putting it on the principal, the sole decision, because they're going to, who knows how they're going to decide. I don't like it being each principal.
When we're talking about worried about the principal making the decision to pull it or not on objection, the principal has the final say on the initial purchase of all books in the classroom or in their library anyways, correct? Now, you could say, well, hey, this principal's new and they didn't make this purchase of this book, obviously, if it was purchased 5 years ago and they're a principal now in the last 3 years or something like that. But they're already the judge, the juror, and the executioner, so to speak, when it comes to the initial purchases. So what's the difference in this, right? I mean, if they're from the beginning, if they're saying this is what's allowed to come into my school right this minute, as we go into the next school year, we're going to order books, there's no difference in saying this is what gets out of my school right this minute. I mean, to me, those are the two of the same things. If you're going to be the end all be all to have them come in and what you're going to purchase in your library, you should be the end all be all what's going to be in your classroom or in your school or not. Now, that's a whole different story if you want to go centralize and do it across the board. That's a whole different story. But if we're going to keep it localized, like you say, at each school, they already decide what comes in. So why not decide what goes out?
When it came down to, because you had asked for feedback about whether it's better to do it per school or district-wide or whatever, I've kind of always been in the camp of, I think it should be left up to every school, only because I've taught in rural schools and I've taught in inner city schools. They're both Title I, but were culturally different and significant. And so I've always kind of been on the mindset of, you know, it's nice to have them so that each school can kind of determine what's best for themselves.
So have mixed feelings, right? I mean, I think there's many ways to look at this. I will say that, you know, our schools and media specialists have expressed that, you know, they are, I mean, if they have 30 pending reviews, that's 30 books replicated across multiple sites. I mean, that's a lot of school-based time that, you know, could be better directed into improving reading scores and improving graduation rates.
Right.
And so I'm very sensitive to that. If there's a way we can alleviate the burden on our instructional staff, I I think getting to a procedure which allows for that would make me feel more comfortable.
I really appreciate you saying that, because
Yeah.
I feel like this entire thing since it's begun is just a distraction where our job really is. And it's very frustrating for me, because I'm not saying that everything was perfect. Certainly it's not. There's problematic books, but this has become a big distraction. And it's so unfair to our kids in our schools, especially our Title I ones. And I think that's what upsets me more about this entire thing. When it first started, I was like a roaring lion sitting up here, because I was just like, you've got to be kidding me. Here's another thing that's going to take away from our kids. And I'm not saying that there weren't problematic books. Like I said, there were a few. I think I can't remember the percentage, but it was like 1/10 of 1% or something minuscule. And yet the hours and hours and hours and hours we're spending talking about it, creating new policies about it, the legislators talking about it, and now here we are again. Unfair, like I said, I feel like this is like a genuine distraction from what their main job really should be. And so I don't want them to have to deviate from that job any more than they have to.
I agree with Miss Messenger. I was in the camp of having each one choose, because they are different, each school site. But at the same time, if your principal has to deal with 10 books a month, I don't know how many. I mean, I guess maybe 10. Maybe exaggeration, but it may not be. That's a lot of time during that month that they could be doing something else. And so I know Dr. Weissong has talked about this too. Like, is this something that we have? I mean, and again, this is resources and time for this, but do we have some of the district level that is assigned to this? I know you are theoretically, but you got other job responsibilities too. So, I don't know.
The sad part about this whole thing is that we even have to have the conversation that some of this material got into our schools. One way or another, it ended up in our schools, and now we have to create a law that says that's inappropriate, which is what happened. So now that we have the law, the policies have to be created around the law, and they gave us guidelines, which we looked at on the onset.
Parental consent on a book is by definition parental rights, right? That's the parent making the decision, which is the whole point. So I would always want to keep that. I think that should be maintained as much as possible. If that's not good for one parent, that's okay. If I want my child to read it, that I should have that say that is the definition of parental rights. So not advocating to get rid of that in any way, shape, or form.
Could that be our default? That we encourage principals that if they are so inclined to, get this off their plate, put the problem to bed, if that is the default, rather than removing a book. I think we've gone through the really hot ones. Okay, that's already happened. They've already made decisions on those. Those are gone. Some of the newer ones that I'm seeing pop up, for review, it's a bit of a, I'm reading a bunch of them, okay, and I'm not being, I'm not offended by the books, and some of them I would let my teenager read, and some I wouldn't, but that would be my choice. And if we make that the default, rather than we start removing books, let's just start restricting them. We don't want the bad books there, but who defines bad books? And I want to talk about who can file appeals. Okay, you've got a person who, let's say, doesn't have a child in the district, but is a resident. They have to be a resident of Manatee County. They file the objection. Okay, a decision is made and they don't like it. Okay, they can appeal that, right? And then by the time it goes to a special magistrate, which is the final end, they can't, because it's got to be a parent. Is that correct? The principal makes the decision. Complainant is I wouldn't say an outsider, but not a parent. But another parent in the school says, "Whoa, wait a minute. Now can they file an objection and bring it to you?"
So currently in this draft, I specified that only the original objector can file an appeal.
Okay.
My rationale for including that was, and again, this is just based on my review of other districts' policies, me workshopping ideas around this with our district-based staff and other people involved in the district. If any parent in the district could make the appeal, then I assume, kind of playing this out in my head, everything would be appealed all the way to the school board level. So every single book that's objected to would get appealed to the school board level. And I think that would require an extreme amount of staff time and taxpayer money.
Can I just say
Why is a book being objected to? There were, especially this last batch, it was a small batch, but one of them just really had me scratching my head. But throw this out there, it's a crazy idea, but what would you think about posting at least the state form just has the list of what the book is and which of the Is it pornography? Is it pornography? Is it, the reason for their objection? If that could get posted online, personally, I would like to know who filed the objection too, because if we're having multiple people, one person filing multiple objections, that gets into a whole nother thing. But the point is just transparency, for the public to see.
Once we
Board
move on.
members, I filed an objection to one of the decisions last year, and I got turned down. Just,
I'm sorry, Ms. Fulham.
You're a parent.
but yeah. No, I'm a community member. I filed it as a community member.
Oh, wait, so we just said the statute says it has to be a parent of a
Well, now I think.
Well, now, but
Okay.
yeah, this was old, yeah. And,
half of a rent.
yeah, well, and that's only to take it to the magistrate, and I'm not taking it to the magistrate, I promise. I'm still bitter. But the point is that, and I understand why, the series of events and the timing of why the decision was made on this book. That if that, I strongly disagree with it. Okay? And I can't believe that book is going to be, it's restricted, it's not even pulled. I can't believe it's going to be restricted for the rest of my life and the rest of our kids' lives in our schools. Question for Mr. Dye, is there a way that we can develop a process to... Huh?
Kindle.
Kindle, there you go.
Huh?
Kids
Kindle.
can get it through
Parents go out
Kindle.
to Kindle.
Right,
No.
yeah.
No.
No, you've got...
Only parents of means can have the access to the book then.
Public library.